Most bankers aren't ready to help you until after their third cup of coffee. But with Central National Bank's after-hours service, you don't have to wait for the bank lobby to open to get help. You can contact us from 6 to 8:30 in the morning or from 5 to 10 in the evening, and we'll connect you to a real, live, local person who can answer questions and fix problems 7 days a week. Bank different. Bank Central. Central National Bank. Member FDIC.
This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about bros and heroes. Gonna tell you about
comic books, costumes, facts,
Boots!
and other stuff.
In this week's issue, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, issue 4 and 5.
Welcome into Bros, Foes, and Heroes. I'm Zach, joined as always by the murderous one,
Oh, Lord.
Mr. Mike. I mean,
What'd
not
I do?
really.
What'd I do?
No, well, it's just because of what we're covering this week.
Oh, yeah.
And that
makes
is, we
sense.
are getting close to the end of the story of Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. We have issues 4 and 5 today, a bit of a double feature. Yeah, you know that every time we do, like I've done this, I play the Teddy Bear Picnic as the rejoin music.
Yeah.
Probably won't do it this week.
Did we get a hit?
We always get like a copyright claim,
Do
but
we?
it's weird to me because it's like from Henry Hill from 1932.
It's from Ted E. Bear.
Maybe. You don't mess with their picnic, man.
No.
But which is fine, but it's just always I
We
use
don't
it
want to
because
mess
it's
with
just such a
anybody's picnic.
well, that's true.
You
but
know?
it's just a creepy sounding song.
Oh, it is a creepy sounding song. Yeah, yeah.
So
yeah.
I think it always
It
fits
could
perfectly
very
with
much
the
be
comic.
used in like a horror movie or something.
Oh yeah,
You
no,
know?
for sure. But I think it always
Especially if you
belongs
slow it down a little bit.
belongs in the comic. We have issue 4 and issue 5 of Beneath the Trees Where Nobody
Yeah.
Sees that we're going to get to today.
It's a twofer.
It is a twofer. We have double features the next 2 weeks because next week we're going to do, there's a series that I finally told you about. I'd been hanging on to and have been teasing. I was just going to surprise you with it, but I was just too giddy about it that I couldn't.
Yeah.
So you know that Space Ghost came out this month, and we're going to cover that next
Space
episode
Ghost.
along with Feral, which is from the same creative team that did Stray Dogs that we covered,
Yeah.
which was really good.
But I think you were telling me about that yesterday, right? Like you figured out that it's like the oh no, that was the other thing I was looking at in there.
The other
There
the
was
Evil
an
Dead.
Army of
There's an Evil
Darkness
Dead
thing, yeah.
for issue 9 in the
Army of
Space Ghost
Darkness
ad,
Forever.
which
It's
I
done by
read.
the same dude.
Yeah, it is. So that did Ferals and Stray Dogs. Yeah, it's all Tony Flex. Or Fleeks. I want to make sure I get that right.
Fleeks and Ferals.
But so today we're going to look at Patrick Horvath, Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, issue 4 and 5 from IDW. This series has been really fun
Yeah, it's been
for us
great.
so far.
I like it.
The busy world of Richard Scarry meets Dexter.
You know, I
is
say
a way
Richard
I've seen it
Scarry
described,
to-
and I love that.
I say Richard Scarry to people, and they have no idea what the hell I'm talking
We just
about.
do.
Like
Well-
driving around in an apple, that worm.
Yeah.
You know,
I don't remember
I'll
his
say
name.
That,
He was friends
no,
with the
I don't
cat.
remember his name, but I'll say that, and people will go, "What the hell are you talking about?" I'm like, It's Richard. What? How do you not know that?
Well, we have Cam who works with us now, and
Yeah.
we brought
He's
it up to tell
12,
him.
though.
He's only 10 years younger than me. No, that's a whole decade.
Yeah.
So
it's
he's
a
in his
lot.
mid-20s, and I'm
Yeah.
in my mid-30s. But
Yeah.
still, we brought it to him, and he looked just as confused. But like, I remember growing up, like even on this dates me too. But they had like Nick Jr. I was at the start of it, like played earlier in the
Yeah.
morning before in the
Yeah.
regular Nickelodeon.
Yeah.
And they always played the Busy World of Richard Scarry
Yeah.
cartoon on that.
Well, I had Nick Morning thing. That's where Blue's Clues started.
Yeah,
all
Nick
that
Jr.
stuff.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
And there was
Nick Jr.
Eureka's Castle. I'm really dating myself here with puppets.
Shit. Okay, so here's the thing. We had a couple of the granddaughters over last night, and we were just keeping them while their mom was doing
Yeah.
some work or whatever. And I've got this old ass like little rubbery puppet.
From like Pizza Hut or
It's
something
the
like
dragon.
that? From Eureka's Castle?
And I was like, she kept saying, no, it's Dragon Tail or what? I said, it's not Dragon Tail, but I can't remember what the hell it is. But that's what it is. Eureka's
there
Castle.
you go. It's Eureka's
There you go.
Castle. Yeah, she had a dragon on
Now
there.
we got it.
No, Dragon Tales had one. Here's what's
Eureka's Castle was Muppets, right?
It was
Jim
Muppets.
Henson
Yeah, it was Jim
stuff.
Henson.
Yeah.
Because it was old. I say old. It was like it seemed like it was reruns when they played it on Nick Jr.
Yeah.
So I feel like that
was
came out
done
when I was
well, though. I
actually
mean, it was done well.
It's a very good show.
I mean,
But
it
feel
wasn't
like
as hectic as like Fraggle Rock or something like that.
No.
It was more.
No, it was
like-
more in like
It
one
was like
place.
half of Mr. Rogers, like whenever he went into the magical kingdom
They had
or
like
whatever.
they had like
Basically
a
what it
room
was.
that she would be in, like
Yeah.
her like and then she would be outside for something. They had
Yeah.
different sets. It was a well put together TV show.
I didn't enjoy the heroin addiction in it, but other than that, it was
they had to
great.
try things with season 2.
Sure.
But no, so but to get back to our topic, that's the thing about us is we can just go and ramble about anything.
Oh, yeah, I love that.
Let me go ahead and try to get us caught up a little bit then. If you're just tuning in, we've covered the other 3 issues, and there's 6 total. So we'll have one more to close it out. My goal is still, and I've told Mike this, my goal is for us to be able to talk to Patrick Horvath himself about this.
Yeah.
Because we have loved this so much, just to get
That'd be
some
super
insight.
cool.
Talk to him a bit. But issue 4.
We should talk to him about everything but the comic.
Oh, that's true. See,
Ask him about mortgage rates.
have I ever told you I had the idea? I know I have, for a podcast of where it was I would interview somebody, but it'd be about something they weren't known for.
Yeah.
So like I would interview actors and we would talk nothing about acting.
Yeah.
It would be like,
I love that.
oh, you really like baking? That's what
Yeah.
we're going to talk
Yeah.
about.
Yeah.
Because how often do they have to talk about everything else?
What about the bees disappearing? And that's the kind of thing. Yeah.
If they're really into that.
Yeah, you just talk to them about it.
But let me go ahead and get us caught
No,
up.
you would hope they wouldn't be into it.
Like you would hope
Like they
wanna
don't know
find
anything
the
about it,
bees.
and you just ask them.
Oh, you think?
Yeah, I like you like, hey, Tom Hanks, what about them bees disappearing?
What if he had like,
He'd
he's
be
like,
like,
well,
what
this
do you-
is actually something I'm
Well,
very
if
passionate
he said that, I
about.
would say that's interesting. Now let's talk about steak knives or so.
So
You know,
you were just wanting
yeah, throw him
Coffees
off
for
somehow.
closers,
Yeah.
steak knives are for second place.
Yeah.
What's the Kitchen Co? What's the brand name?
Cutco.
Cutco.
Knives. Yeah, but I don't think that's what they were in that thing.
There's a
You're
name
talking
for
about-
them.
yeah,
I'm talking
Cutco's-
for Glengarry Glen Ross.
Glen Ross. It's a different name. Cutco is the actual one
the
where people
Ronco
go
ones?
door to door and
Oh
sell
no, that's
knives.
okay.
So anytime you're talking to a teenager / 20-something-year-old person, and they say, "Oh yeah, I just got a job. I'm working for Cutco." No, you didn't get a job. You're a vacuum cleaner salesman, is what you are.
Except
You're
with
going
knives?
door to door to door selling knives.
Oh.
Number one, frightening. Somebody comes and wants to sell me some knives at my door. And 2,
Yeah, but you don't have to go hunt them down, so that is a plus.
you know where else I don't have to hunt them down is Amazon. I just type in knife, and it comes right up.
Is that all just knife?
Yeah, just knife.
You are not a picky shopper.
No, not at all. Not at
So-
all. I'm a cheap shopper.
Let me go ahead and get us caught up to where we are at this point with Beneath the Trees. So we're introduced to our main character, who's the bear, Sam.
Mhm.
And she has she has this darkness inside of her, very much like Dexter,
Yeah.
of where she feels the need to every so often kill. But she lives in a small town and I always forget if it's Woodbrook or if it's Woodbury. It's Woodbrook. Okay, I got it right the first time. But she lives in the small town of Woodbrook. I think
Woodbrook.
probably like 1,000, 2,000. It's a very
Sure.
small.
Yeah, it's a quaint
couple
little,
thousand.
Like I've said, it's like Stars Hollow.
Exactly,
from
Gilmore Girls.
Girls of Gilmore.
Yep. And so she doesn't want to mess up the ecosystem that she has there in town of where she owns a local hardware store and everybody knows her.
Yeah.
So she always goes off to the big city, which
It's
is
a hardware store?
It's a hardware store,
Oh, okay.
which is a couple hours away.
I guess
and
that's how she gets her supplies and stuff.
Yeah, she has, yeah.
Okay.
And so she'll hunt down a stranger there in the city
Mhm.
and she'll go and
Yeah.
she'll commit heinous acts and then dispose of them she'll take like paint cans and she'll remember the whole thing. She was
Yeah,
like,
she chops
just
them up in little chunks.
dismembering and putting them in
Mhm.
paint cans and then like burying the paint cans out in the woods and then she'd drive back.
The paint can still. That's somebody stumbles across a paint can.
I'm
that's
bringing up the
buried.
paint can because it comes up this
Well, I'm
issue.
just saying, somebody buries a paint can and you find it. Well, that's already weird.
It is, because why
Right?
would you bury a paint can?
Yeah, I would think you bury the chunk of the person in the ground and it would just go away at
Maybe.
some point. You know?
So while we see her kind of like dark history there, because she's been doing it for 20, 30, we don't know how long, but it's been going on for a
Yep.
long time.
Yep.
We noticed
Well, it's whatever it is plus 7 because it's animal years.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Does that work for all animals?
Yeah.
So
Bears are a little different. It's about 3.5.
Gotcha.
But, you can just average up.
So she has like her own little like friends there back in Woodbury. I can't remember the woman. She's really best friends with this mouse. It's an older woman who is kind of getting older and a little bit sickly, and her son that has moved back to Woodbrook to kind of take care of her. She owns the hardware store with her shop worker is a mole and his
Yeah.
mole family.
Yeah.
Remember?
Yeah.
She kind of has like a little group of friends and stuff that she has, but what happens is during the 200th like celebration of Woodbrook to celebrate the 200th year anniversary, one of the floats there, the mast falls down off of this giant ship, and it's revealed that the librarian, who was a goat, had been murdered, and he's
Yeah.
kind of strung up there for everybody in town to see.
Yep.
And Sam
tail.
realizes, our main character realizes, oh no, like now there's a killer here in our own town. And if they start, not only is it like they're messing up with how I have things
Yeah.
set up, but it's also if they start like digging around and looking for stuff, they might come across my own little secret too. So she has been taking it upon herself to try to figure out who this killer is and take care of it before the cops do, because she's trying to look out for herself.
Right.
Through all this, the librarian died, and then we had
Oh.
Sherry Gaskins, who was the pig, who was kind of like our Cherry, who was the pig, who was a little bit of a blowhard. Remember, she was very much so like telling the cops they needed to do better,
Yeah,
and she wasn't
yeah.
going to let the killer
She's very
dictate
much
her.
like a Karen kind of
She
pig.
was.
Yeah.
She parked in the middle of the street to walk in to get her latte while held up traffic.
Yeah.
She was kind of a bit of a turd character, but she ends up becoming the second victim to the town killer. The third issue is where we were before to get caught up to where we were. So we have had 2 murders in town, no lead. Sam can't figure out who it is, and she finds out when talking to the turtle whose float that the first dead body was found on, that he was working on the float with the town cat.
Right.
And we found out that she's allergic to lavender. That becomes a big deal because the turtle remembers hearing somebody sneeze
Yeah.
there while he was working,
Yeah.
but doesn't know like
Glad you're doing this because I didn't remember all those
that's.
pieces.
I'm
too.
just trying to get you all recapped up, or anybody else before. So she takes it upon herself, like, I got to see. I think the cat is who our killer might be. Then, so the cat owns the butcher shop. Remember, which we thought was kind of weird.
Yeah.
But so Sam like throws a brick through the butcher shop window, so the alarm sets off. So she leaves the house. So Sam can break into her house to realize that while Melody was the cat's name, while Melody might be a little strange, she has her husband. She has a doll stuffed of her dead husband. Remember that she sleeps
Yeah.
with just because she misses him so much.
Right.
It's a little weird, There's a little weird, but she's no killer.
Just a little.
But she's no killer. But Sam kind of realizes, like, oh, okay, it's not
Yeah.
the cat after
Yeah.
all. So she's kind of back at square one, not knowing who it's going to be. We close issue 3 at the first funeral there, and she notices somebody sneezing
Uh huh.
during the prayer.
Right.
And she turns to look, and it is her friend's son, which is the little mouse here.
Uh huh.
And so that is where we ended issue 3 of like, oh, is it her friend's son?
Right.
And so that's where we pick up here with issue 4. So issue 4, I do love how each one opens up and it kind of has that,
Yeah. It looks like the town newspaper.
the town
kind of thing,
newspaper that kind of gets us caught up. Sam's kind of driving through town, and all the time it's all these little like notes. It's like her diary just to kind of set up the pages. She's talking about how it's so empty throughout town, like with all these murders and everything.
yeah.
And you would think so. Like nobody wants to be out and about. She drives by. It's an empty movie theater. Nobody's going to go out to the movies. Like, everything's empty. There's the police is the only car at the diner. They're really the only ones eating at the diner, with the worker there is just watching everything that goes by.
Yeah.
It's a ghost town because everybody's kind of scared for what's going on.
Sure.
Like people are being murdered.
Sure.
They don't know, what to do. They don't have any.
Well, animals.
Well, that too. They're skittish. But they don't have any rhyme or reason for things. So they're kind of stuck in their homes. But Sam takes it upon herself now to go visit her friend. It says here, it feels like everything is out of step these days. Like everything has changed. And I don't do well with change, is what she says, because she's very much a creature of habit. And she has visited her little mouse friend and her son for like snacks and tea. And the two of them are just kind of having, just a meetup of friends,
Sure,
right?
sure.
She's going to visit her best friend.
Snacks and tea.
Yeah, snacks and tea. They're talking about how the town is a ghost town and she's worried about it. Like her friend, I can't remember her name right now. She's like, I think it's a ghost town. And Sam's like, yeah, it's a shame. There seems like a lot of folks here are too scared to kind of even leave their home. To which her son says, oh, I don't know. I mean, bad stuff happens all over the world. Seems naive to think that it wouldn't happen here in Woodbrook.
Well, he's got a point.
He does. To which Sam goes, it's so rare here. Maybe they don't know what to do. Like I love this because it's kind of like, as the readers, we know things and we kind of get a little tit for tat. And so it's a nice little back and forth, because then the son replies to that with, doesn't seem so rare these days. Nigel is the name of the son.
Yeah.
And the mom is like, Nigel. And she's like shaking, like she's getting kind of faint. And he's like, Mom. And she's just like, I'm sorry. It's terribly rude. Like she's starting to get weak. Like whatever she's ill with, it's causing her to be shaky and weak.
Right.
And he's like, oh, don't worry about it. I'll walk you up to bed, Mom. And she apologizes, and she's like, that's so rude of me. I just need to lie down for a bit. And Nigel just tells Sam, like, I'm going to put her to bed, and I'll be right back. So the two of them kind of walk up then to the bedroom together.
So I'm assuming Nigel is poisoning her?
Don't know
Okay,
yet.
all right.
So he lays her down in bed, and she's just like, thanks for taking so much good care of me. Like, you should be out there having your own life and all that. And he's like, I'm here for you.
It's okay, mother.
Yeah. And she's like, or bring someone
have my
else's
mannequins.
joy into someone else's life, not hold up here with me. And Nigel's just kind of staring at the doorway, looking at his mom as she falls asleep. And he comes back down the stairs and he goes, Sam, are you still here? And he's like a little nervous. And I do love this part because she kind of sneaks up on him.
Oh, yeah.
I love how I'm doing that. But she
Yeah,
sneaks up on him
yeah.
and she goes, Nigel, we need to talk. This is getting way out of hand. And he does look startled at first. And he goes, oh, you startled me.
Yeah.
And then he grins and he goes, I love that feeling.
Mm.
So now
Nigel's
I
a
think
creep.
we're on to something.
Nigel's a creep.
And Sam tells him, like, hey, you got to quit stirring up this town. And he's like, okay, I know that I'm a little over the top, but like I needed to get your attention. Like I needed you to know what I was doing. So he was doing all the 2 murders just to get Sam's attention,
Oh, wow.
according to Nigel. He was like, a little over a year ago, like when I came back home to take care of my mom, like I really didn't know what to do. Like I was just bored. Like the people are here. Like school is okay. The people here, they're just, everybody's fake, man. Like,
Yeah.
I just don't feel like I connect to anybody. But I've always liked you, Sam. Like you were always different. Even growing up, like when I was a kid, like I always liked you as my mom's friend because you weren't like everybody else here in Woodbrook. Like there was something about you that felt very genuine. Like you were a real person. And he's like, after a month or so, I started following you just around town and stuff. It was kind of honest or innocent, I swear. But then I followed you into the city and into the woods. And
Oh,
it shows that he has followed her and he
So
has
he's
seen
seen
her.
the whole thing.
Yeah, kind of, kill her. And he goes, I couldn't believe it. I'd found someone just like me. I needed to prove to myself. And she's just like, Nigel. And he's like, so I took my first serious step. I just wanted to show you that we could do this together. And she's just like, Nigel, like, shut up.
Yeah.
And he's just kind of like confused by this. And
I mean, because part of her thing is you just don't talk about it. You
Exactly.
don't give in to it.
I'm
or
like,
anything.
this
You-
is-
You go and do your thing. You get it out of your system. You
exactly.
Come
I
back.
come back.
You live your regular life.
And she's like, we're never going to be partners. Like, we're not friends. We're nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I do what I like on my own, and you can do whatever you need to do, but not here in Woodbrook. She's like telling him, like, this town is delicate, and you're effing it all up.
Yeah.
Like, you're
Yeah.
ruining
Yeah.
all
Yeah,
this.
yeah,
And
yeah.
he's like, she goes, and stop following me. Do you understand that? And he just kind of feels like defeated, and he's just like, yeah, I understand. And then he just sits there and he throws the glass down and he's just like, you're an effing phony, just like all the rest.
Mm.
And he just turns and runs out the door of the house. And she's just like, Nigel, Sam, we hear calling up from the thing. Is everything okay down there? So Sam leaves and she goes home and she's just kind of like cleaning to get her mind off stuff. But there's more like diary notes of like, obviously it's gotten to her. She's like, he's been watching me, collecting all my moments, like with his greedy little hands. And now he's taking up space in my head. Like she's just like slowly like losing because obviously Nigel knows what it is. And she keeps like, there's moments she keeps like stopping while she's cleaning and like looking out the window
thinking
behind
he's
her because she's like,
standing there or
maybe
whatever.
he's
Yeah.
out there.
Yeah.
Then we go to a day at the next day at the hardware store, and somebody's checking out, and you see all right, thanks, Bob, you're all set, no problem, kind of in the background. And Sam turns around, and all of a sudden her eyes get wide, and she goes, say, Bob, mind if I have a look at that paint can before you leave? And as you notice, Bob is holding a paint can that has a smidge of blood on it.
Oh, no.
And so Bob, who's a cow, I guess, holds it up. And she goes, yeah, you know what? That's actually mixed already. I can see a red smudge on that. Somehow you got red paint already. Like, here, let me grab you a fresh can of white. Don't know like how that happened. And like, so she looks at it, makes sure, and she hands it to him. And yeah. And Charlie the mole is like, I'm sorry. I guess I didn't see that. But obviously he
Well, you're a
didn't
blind
know.
ass mole.
Well, he's a mole,
Sure.
but obviously he wouldn't know either. So he's like putting it back, and she's like, I'm sorry, I didn't know. And Sam's like, oh, it's okay, Charlie. Don't be so hard on yourself.
Yeah,
Like,
sure.
go ahead and take the rest of the day off. And Charlie's like, yeah, okay, I guess you're right. Charlie's been kind of down on himself since all this whole thing's happened.
Sure.
And so Sam's just trying to make him feel better. She's like, see you tomorrow. Don't worry about it. But in reality, she's sending him home because she wants to lock up the store after everybody leaves. And she takes that paint can that she had and she pries it open and she pulls it out to reveal a hand that was in there. So it's one of her cut up hands from one of her victims. And then
So you know somebody else has been involved at this point.
you do know
Because
somebody else
she
has been
buried all
involved.
this shit. Now one of them just turns up again.
It says, when you're hoping against all odds and when you need something to not be true, but it is anyway, and you can't feel your feet on the ground anymore. And it shows her walking away, kind of like hand in hand, like trying to figure out what to do, as like she's surrounded by a parade of people around her.
I do like
Then-
the phrase hand in hand, though.
Hand-
there.
that is
yeah,
good,
because
yep.
there's a hand.
And then while they're all walking together, it's like they're all walking towards the duck. Remember from the very first issue? And it's them all watching her kill the duck, and they're all just kind of watching, just like, and not enjoying, but just like they're not bothered by this at all.
Yeah.
And then that bear, we always talk about the anthropomorphic bear, or the actual one, comes up and actually bites into her and kills her while Nigel's laughing in the background, and she awakes like, ah, and we find out it was a nightmare, at least part of it. And as she's sitting there waking up, she looks out her window, and it looks like there's Nigel's like back or shadow there in the window. And she's just like, you SOB, you son of a bitch. Like, and she just goes and runs to the window and she throws it open. And she's like, stop hiding, you coward. Come and get me, you chicken. She's just yelling everything that she can. And she looks outside and realizes there's nobody out there. And about that time, her neighbor, who's a fox, is sitting on his chair, like next door, just like smoking a cigarette. And he just goes, evening, Sam. And she goes, evening, Chip. I thought that maybe somebody was out here trying to spy on me. And he's like, don't be so hard on yourself, Sam. Everybody's a little jumpy these days.
So at this point, he's just gotten severely into
Into
her
her head.
Yeah.
We're about.
And the ironic thing is, this is what she was doing to everybody else.
It is. It's about
Yeah.
to get really good,
Yeah.
Mike. I forgot when going over. It's about to get really good, the way they close out issue 4. So we then get to the next day, and Sam is waiting at a light, like we all do in the morning, waiting for it to turn green, yawning
I just
a bit.
barrel through most of them.
Well, yawning a bit. And she turns and she notices police tape outside of a building. And when she turns to look back, and the passenger, like if she's in the car here, and the passenger window is Nigel with the camera, and he says, cheese. And it takes him, and he goes, wanted a couple more pictures of you before you leave.
Oh, wow.
And he turns to look, and he's like, yeah, man, it's really too bad. Late last night, poor Charlie got a call from someone who sounded a lot like you, saying you needed him down at the store right away. And he never made it home. Like the way he's just doing it.
Jeez.
And it shows then Charlie's family like crying around the police tape as an officer is holding them. And the wife's just like, please just tell me if he's hurt. Please just tell me if he's hurt. And then it cuts to the inside. And you see, I love how all the police, I just noticed this now, all the police are dogs, by the way. So there's like one of the chief is a basset hound, but even all the dogs.
Yeah.
So one of them is just wide-eyed. And it goes back to the narration from Nigel. And he goes, I made a hell of a mess in there. And you just see like a shocked look from like a cop. And then it's just red. I'll have to show you this panel when it's done, because the way it's done is it's panels, part of Sam's face, panel, part of Sam's face, panel, part of Sam's face. So it makes a horrified look on her expression while moving the story.
Yeah.
But he goes, it's not looking too good for you, though. Sam, they'll probably have a couple questions for you. How could you do that to poor Charlie? And it shows Charlie's head
This kid.
severed and the saw blade like stuck right between, splitting the glasses and stuff in half. And he goes, I know you found the paint can I dug up. And he takes another picture and he goes, but they just found a whole bunch more of them in the store.
Oh, my.
You see what I mean now with the panel of the face? I love the way they do that, because it's her shocked expression while moving everything forward.
Jeez.
And so he sits there, and it shows the cop walking to turn and look, and there's just open paint cans all over the floor. And Nigel goes, "You should have been nice to me, Sam." And then that's about the time like one of the detectives pulls a body part out of, one of the paint cans and goes, "Sheriff, we found something." And it cuts to the sheriff outside and he's like, "Dispatch." And dispatch to go ahead, issue a bolo for Samantha Strong. She just topped the list as our prime suspect for the death of Charlie here, and most likely every other damn murder in this town. Push that to all the counties and consider her to be extremely dangerous. And it ends with her fully on the run now.
Oh, wow.
And that is where we end issue 4 of Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. We'll come back to wrap up our episode with issue 5 right after this. Welcome back into Bros, Foes, and Heroes as we continue our episode here on Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees issue 4 and 5.
Oh, hey, I didn't see you there.
Oh, I'm right here. I was beneath the trees.
No, I was looking through some of this artwork, like the
It's
alternate
so
stuff.
good.
It's very cool.
I love everything that Patrick Horvath has done. I
Yeah.
should also say, we've talked about it before, the letter work by, and I always feel so awful, and then I'm butchering this name, and I hate that I do that because it's so good on this. But Hassan Sami Elau, I'm so sorry for butchering that. But the lettering,
Ostmain Elahu.
the lettering
go
on
with
this
that.
has been impressive throughout the whole thing because we've talked about it before too, of how words will like interact with the scene around them and stuff, and like crash into and be scrunched, and just it's so good. So I want to make sure to talk about it too there because
Well,
this
it's
book as a
just
whole
the-
is just fantastic.
It's just the freaking setup of all these scenes, like the one where it's her face, but there's other panels over it. So like that one,
I love that
right
so
there,
much.
where
Yeah.
it's, 3 and 1, and it's really well done. It's
So
you can just tell that it's very well
yes,
planned out.
very well planned out,
Yeah,
very well
yeah,
put together.
yeah.
So issue 5 picks up again. The inside of the cover is all that the newspaper, and this time it's murder suspect identified, believed to be armed and dangerous. Samantha Strong sought for questioning.
Can I say one more thing
Yeah,
about
for sure.
what they're doing in this thing?
For sure.
So at the beginning of this one, the last episode or the last issue, she went to the movie, or went by the movie theater.
Yeah.
Dog Day Afternoon's playing.
Yes.
I thought that was really great.
Yes.
And then at the end of this,
There are
when-
little small nods and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that that are
yeah.
really good.
At the end of this, whenever she's standing by the traffic light, or somebody's standing by the traffic. Okay, so no, it's actually the thing for the next issue.
Oh, the cover here?
Yeah, all these little stickers and things, but there's a that button you push to walk across the street.
Oh, it has a
It's a
dog
duck.
head on it.
It's a duck or a dog or a
Yeah,
something.
it's an animal
You
head.
can tell it's an animal. It's not a person.
Yeah.
So that's kind of cool.
No, I do like
That's
that.
just little details
That is
that
the
they didn't
cover
have
of
to do.
the cover of this one is the duck from issue 1.
Mm-hmm.
Daniel
Cut
Brewer. We
into
found out his
quarters,
name
yeah.
is. But so we get another like paper in there to let us know, and it's how they also give credits. So Sam is on the run now, and it says, as your mind races, you can't help but be impressed with how quickly everything has been turned upside down.
Sure.
Decades of care blown up in less than a day. And he's like, you head for the city before you even realize what you're doing. You know how easily it can swallow someone up. You're counting on it. So she's hoping to go in there and just blend in. But she talks about while she's there and she's trying to blend in with all the people that she's not noted, or where is it? Wearing mask is easy for you, and you quickly slip in amongst the millions, busy in their own lives, chasing fortunes, reinventing themselves. There's a chance they may track you down, but not before your ghosts do.
And who is this saying this?
Sam is.
Okay,
Sam's
so it
talking
is-
about
oh,
this.
Okay.
And that's what it shows as she
Because
walks.
generally that's the voiceover, right? I mean,
Yeah, it is usually,
yeah.
or I'm assuming it is with all of these. But everywhere she goes, like she's at a diner, she's starting to see like the ghosts of her previous victims
Oh wow,
there
she's
with
seeing
her.
them all cut up into pieces.
Yeah, they're all cut
Just
up
like
there
the
with
duck on
her.
the front, yeah.
And that's the thing. It's like she's out walking.
Or her mind's racing. She's revisiting all of her
All
crimes.
of the crimes.
She's trying to figure out, did I screw up here?
exactly.
Did I screw up there?
This is a
Yeah.
very mental issue.
And then she's also seeing chunks of these people missing, which I'm assuming she thinks are in those cans.
Probably.
That have all been found now.
Exactly. So
Yeah.
then she goes out
Huh.
of the diner onto the street to kind of like leave somewhere else, and she sees a cop questioning other people, showing a picture of her. So she turns and goes the other way. And when she goes down that alley, like there's the duck again.
Yeah.
It's another ghost.
That kind of reminds me of like American Werewolf. in London. You know, when his buddy comes back and he starts seeing him as a ghost
Yes,
and all that stuff.
and that's exactly what
This one's
she's.
talking to her, isn't he?
Yeah, it was just like squiggles and stuff.
Yeah,
but yeah,
sure.
So then she's like driving to get somewhere else, and she runs into now they have like police stops where they're having everybody stop and they're checking
Oh yeah.
to see everywhere. So she decides, hey, I'm going to turn off. I love she fixes her rearview mirror, and look who she sees in the rearview mirror again. It's the duck. It's the
duck.
ghost again.
But again, it's only half his head.
It is.
You know, it's all cut up.
But
into pieces.
all of
Yeah.
her ghosts from all these previous things
Yeah,
are on her
yeah.
now. So she decides to turn off this old dirt road that she sees instead of going through police checkpoint.
Mm-hmm.
And she comes to a point where a tree has fallen, and so she can't keep driving past it. So she decides to get out of her truck or her Bronco, whatever it is, SUV, and keep walking instead. And as she walks over, she tries to climb over the tree, and it like snaps, and she falls forward, and she hits her head. And she gets up, and she's like wiping herself off, and she like goes into this cave. And there's narration. It's a lot of just action in this one, not a lot of like
Yeah, I got
narration
you,
and stuff.
sure.
And so when she walks in there, I'll do some of hers narration of the note she's writing. It says, you don't want to enter, talking about the cave she found here,
Yeah.
but you need to. A conversation with yourself has been long overdue. Because she walks to a point in the cave of where it's almost like a mirror,
Yeah.
but she's able to kind of
Yeah.
like walk through and turn back and see herself.
So I've seen that in. That's kind of a trope, right? Where I've seen that in movies before, where they walk into this cave and like either there's water running down the thing or whatever, but they're reflected in it, and that's like the only place they can talk to themselves
It
or
is.
see themselves or whatever.
It is. It is kind of a trope like that.
Yeah.
She walks through on this one and then realizes like she walked through something, turns back and sees herself like staring at herself.
Mm-hmm.
And I do like, I talked about the lettering because I wanted to bring this
Yeah.
up. Is, you know, she goes, oh, look at what's beneath the surface. She turns back to look and sees herself staring and is overwhelmed. But look at the way they did the balloons. It's like an almost mirrored but off.
Yeah. That's really nice.
It is really. They do it on the next page too on the
This
top.
is like through the looking glass type stuff. You
like
know?
like even with the letter blocks, and I just
Yeah.
love that so much
Ooh.
of the way that they're able to. Yeah,
It turns into
and she falls
snakes.
down because she's overwhelmed, and her head like
Yeah.
pops off, and it turns into all these colorful
It's all
snakes,
snakes.
that she's like trying to wrangle back in. She's having just this fight with herself kind of mentality.
mhm.
It's like you struggle in fear, but you understand that every last bit of it is part of you.
Well, I'm kind of assuming that every snake is one of her victims, right? Like
Or
it's
something
that's what's eating at her, right? Is
Ooh,
each
that's
one
a
of those
good-
things.
It could be, yes,
And that's why they're all different colors because they're all different crimes. You know, I'm just assuming.
it could be. I think it's left up
Yeah.
to a lot of our
Yeah.
interpretation through this,
Yeah.
or
it's just snakes.
it could be snakes. It has always been a part of you, the fear from the very first beat of your heart. And so she walks out of the cave and she walks up to a stream. You know, we kind of talked about animalistic and the animals that actually kind of act like animals.
Yeah,
And I
animals
think
that are
maybe
animals and animals
I
that
think
aren't
maybe
animals.
this is where it came in a little bit at least. I don't know if this
Okay.
is the full thing. So she comes up to a stream and she looks down at the stream, and as she looks down, she notices on the other side of the riverbank in the reflection is an actual bear on all fours with
Oh.
blood like dripping from his mouth.
Mhm.
And she looks up and the bear has blood all over his face like that.
Mhm.
And she's like, hi, I think we've met before. My name is Sam. And the bear just kind of like stares at her.
Wasn't
Like
that
blood
bear
dripping
Was
off.
the bear in the woods in
The
the,
first one.
crime? Okay,
Mhm.
that's what I thought.
And she's like, you have a lovely place here. And she turns and about that time notices a dead deer
Mm-hmm.
that's like bleeding from its neck. And she's like, oh, pardon me. Like, I didn't mean to interrupt.
Yeah.
And we hear like a snap and it catches the bear's attention. And another bear comes to challenge the bloody bear
Yeah.
for the deer there.
Yeah.
So while the two of them then battle back and forth, right?
Mm-hmm.
And while the two of them battle and fight for the bear, the one with the bloody mouth already
Yeah.
kind of kills, like he scratches it
Rips the other
open,
one open, yeah.
rips it open. And while Sam is watching this, Sam is getting excited,
Uh-huh.
right? You see like the yes
Yeah.
and stuff, and her eyes are getting big. She's getting kind of, I don't want to say turned on, but
Well,
like, I mean,
that's
she's,
kinda, yeah.
in a way, she's just getting really excited
Yeah.
by this. And that
What
bear,
sound turns you on?
and that bear that was there at the beginning kills the other bear that came up and then goes back to his prey, grabs the deer by the throat and just kind of drags it off with it.
So do you think that's her like fighting her inner
And her
like,
animalistic,
wild-
yes.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
what I took from
Well,
it.
and it's the good part fighting the bad part, and ultimately the killer wins.
That's what it is.
You
Yeah.
know, yeah. And so now she's probably got this new resolve, like I'm gonna go kick that kid's ass.
And
or
so
whatever.
that's
yeah.
she's like, you see the natural order of things,
Uh-huh. Yeah.
where you belong.
There you go.
Okay, I've got some work to do. And it shows her get back in her car,
She's hauling
started
ass
back
now.
up. Yeah, and
she's ready to take
driving
care of
back, and you
things.
see the
Yeah.
first part of Woodbrook
Yeah.
as she zooms on by to go into town.
Because here's the thing: no matter what happens, this is just a kid
It is.
that's effing around.
It is.
You know,
So
you can take care of that. You've already killed all these people.
Exactly. So she gets back to town, and she sneaks back into her
Yeah.
office or her
Yeah.
hardware store that
Well,
they
through the alley.
police
right?
taped
Yeah.
out from the alley in a
Uh-huh.
back window. She goes, I don't need much, just some quick
Yeah.
supplies and some retribution. And it shows her walk in, and she has a flashlight on, and she's looking around through everything in there. There's blood all over the counter where like Charlie's head was and stuff. And she's like, Woodbrook isn't ruined, just a little banged up.
Mm.
It's nothing that can't be fixed with the right tools.
Mm.
Because like she looks down and she notices there's like a necklace on the ground too, which I don't know. She picks up the necklace and then we see her unzip like a duffel bag,
Right.
and we get a click, click, click from like a blade, like a
Like a box
package cutter.
Yeah.
Yep. And it says blade, and then it shows her holding duct tape, and it says tape, and then it says painting drop cloth, and she goes plastic. It's going to be messy.
It's a Uline catalog,
And
man.
then the last thing it says, so I'll double up on the plastic
yeah. There
to
you
be
go.
continued.
There you go.
And it ends
That
with
sucker.
issue 6 with the overlay
yeah.
of the more
The wild
animalistic bear over her
inside of
own.
her, yeah.
So issue 6,
This
we
art is
are
beautiful.
we are
It really
ramping
is
up
great.
for a big time
It's a big
confrontation
finish, yeah.
between Sam and Nigel, and I am all here for it.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to see how it plays out then, because it's been such a good series so far. And they made him in one issue. He turned him into such a good bad guy and just such a little turd. And it was great. But so there you go.
This is really well done, man.
Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, issue 4 and 5.
If you can get Horvath on, that would be
great.
Excellent.
We will have issue 6 here soon. It comes out this month here, May 10th,
Mr.
I believe.
Horvath.
Well, no, wait. May 8th, maybe?
Huh. That's next week.
8th, 15th. It comes out here it comes out
Yeah.
this month.
Yeah.
If not this month, next month. I'm pretty sure it's this month though. So we will have the end soon. Next week on the show, I know Mike's ready to get to
I'm
this.
excited.
We're going to talk Feral,
See how
which
excited
is
I
from the creative team that did Stray Dogs that we really loved. Issue 1 we'll look at. Issue 2 is already out, but we're going to focus on issue 1.
Yeah.
And then also a comic that I know that Mike will be excited about, Space Ghost. We're going to dive into that, which I absolutely loved reading that one too. So that's what we have for you coming up next week. As always, we want to thank you guys for taking the time out to listen. And as always, make sure to take out all the other great podcasts on the Rogue Media family network of stations. The Rogue Media Network family of podcasts.
RogueMediaNetwork.com.
I got it. There we go.
We got it.
We appreciate you listening.
Hey, this has been a really good series. I really
It
enjoyed
has
this. Yeah, it's very cool.
And I can't wait for us to go ahead and
Yeah.
wrap it up when we do that. I'm going to be a little bummed when it's done, but still.
There's always something.
We can always go back and read it once they
We
collect
can go
it.
get those Army of Darkness ones. We'll be fine.
There we go. We'll have stuff to do. But until next time, stay safe, everybody.
Golly con.
Pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about pros and heroes. Gonna tell you about.
This has been a Rogue Media Network production.